everyone, and welcome to Aksamawian Media Network. I'm your host, Ashinafi Sabhatu, and today we are joined by Nahom Kahsay, who's a young activist who is very active and participates in his Tigray community. Today we will discuss a few of the current situations in Tigray. Nahom, thank you for joining us and welcome.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Would you please start by giving us an introduction and introducing yourself?
Okay, my name is Nahom Kahsay, and I'm a resident in Seattle, Washington. And due to the current and ongoing situations in Tigray, which the war is waged on us by the legitimate government, we are currently going on having protests and reaching out to various international communities in order to help out our people, and I participate on that.
Okay. And could you tell us about what's going on in Tigray, what's happening, what you're hearing about, the things going on?
Okay, so what's going on back home? I would like to start with the background. A lot of people see this and think of this as if something that has happened in the past 2 or 4 years, but I would like to think of it as a continuation of the history of Tigray, because we've always been suppressed by the majorities in Ethiopia, or by the so-called vocal majorities, because the majorities in Ethiopia, the minorities are collected to become, the minorities are collectively voiced to become the majorities in Ethiopia, but then again, there are the voiceful minorities which tend to suppress the minorities. So as Tigrayan, we are always exposed to suppression and aggression from various sides, whether local or international. And as a continuation of that, the Ethiopian community transformed into having different some developmental issues and questions, and then some who happen to have been in the government infiltrated the so-called ideals and ideologies of the government, and then hijacked the questions of the people, and then took it to a whole new phase of exterminating Tagaru from Ethiopia and marginalizing them, and trying to subdue us into giving up our hopes and giving up our freedom. So that's how I see it.
Okay, and just briefly, could you tell us some of the stories that you're hearing? I know they just recently opened up communication in one of the areas, but we're getting a lot of information. Could you just tell us some of the stuff that's going on out there that you're hearing about?
Yeah, so we have all come to learn that some form of communication has been established back again around the capital, our capital, Malala. But then again, it's not fully accessible right now, because what they have is the phone line, and they can barely speak freely. And for the most part of Tigray, it still is in blackout, and there's no access to basic services like running water, electricity, internet, phone lines, banking services. Everything is shut down. And from what we are hearing, it's very devastating, and the people are going through mass starvation. Technically, the government is using mass starvation as a means and tool to establish its legitimacy, and to break down the spirits of the Tagaru people, Tigrayan people. So some of the things that you hear are very surprising. I mean, let alone to actually witness those in videos and pictures, but even to hear about it, it's very surprising, because people are actually back to the old days of preparing their food through the most backward systems and mechanisms. For instance, in some occasions, to grind different products or different raw materials for food purposes, like teif and sorghums and stuff. They are literally using traditional coffee grinders, which are used by hand, and to hammer those. And actually, people are having to wait on lines for more than 2 weeks just in order to have access to grind their food. So, which is impossible. And I've heard some of the things that I've heard is that since the Tigrayan Defense Forces control the mountains and the rural parts of Tigray, those areas are more or less safer, considering the urban areas like the capital. So in those areas, amazingly, the people there, the farmers there, have solar power system. So the people from the urban areas would have to go actually into the rural parts of Tigray and hear the news and everything, because they're blacked out. The only means and the only access they have from media is from the state sponsored which is run by this group that's controlling the federal power right now. So that's very devastating, and that's very saddening to hear.
And with your background coming from freedom fighter parents, how do you perceive this war that's going on?
Well, okay, so this has a very deep-rooted meaning for each and every Tigray. for every Tigrayan that is currently witnessing what's going on. And specifically and personally for me, uh, I see this as something that's came up to the people of Tigray in order to break their principles, their values, and their spirits. So our spirit is strong as ever before. It is stronger than it has ever been. And when we see the background to this, back in the days when the Tigray resistance, which is mainly led by the TPLF, when its first emergence started, it has a leader called Gassaswayela, which is mainly known as Suhul. He had there was an incident where he died, where he came across EDU fighters. Then, which EDU was a certain party that was running around Tigray. Then they also had a struggle going on with different principles. So they stopped a certain bus that had farmers in it, people from the rural parts. So they stopped them and they were trying to loot and rob them, like how it's going on right now. So he stopped there. He only had two people with him, two armed men with him, but they had an entire unit with them. So he was like, "Why are you guys doing this? You know, we're out here fighting for the farmers, and you guys are looting the farmers. This goes against every principle that we stand for. So stop doing this." He knew that they were going to kill him, but then again, he stood up to that value. Again, our fathers, which are his children, he passed on the torch to them. They received that, they worked on it, they succeeded, they overthrew the military dictatorship we had then, they established a democratic country, more or less. I mean, there can be some problems here and there that can be brought up, but then again, they carried up on the torch and transformed Ethiopia, and they were working towards transforming it into becoming one of the middle income countries. Again, they were mostly misunderstood by the major part of Ethiopia. They were betrayed by Ethiopia itself. And then again, they did not leave. If they wanted to leave, they had the access, they had the connections, they had the means in order to devise. I wouldn't say they had the financial capabilities, as most people speak about it. But then again, they had the means and connections if they wanted to go abroad and leave. For instance, Mr. Siyum, Mr. Mr. Abai Nabso, they all could have left the country and lived in safety, but then again, they chose to stay with the people and they wanted to fight. So that tells me that our parents were never wrong to fight and resist. Our parents always had values. We hear every now and then our enemies preaching that they are living abroad, trying to like they have all the money they need, they have the connections, they've been dominating the economy of Ethiopia. But I found those to be lies again. I mean, we all knew it. Personally, I knew it. But then again, now the world has seen it, because these guys could have ended somewhere in Europe, America, Asia, anywhere they wanted. But then again, they chose to stay there. So as someone who is the first generation of those freedom fighters, I would like to say I'm really proud of what our fathers had, and I'm really proud of what the Tigrayan people in general are doing right now.
Yep. And just recently we heard about a few honorable leaders that are killed and arrested in Tigray, from Tigray. Subhat Nega, who is one of the TPLF founders, and his comrades are arrested. Siyum Mesfen, who is the former foreign minister of Ethiopia, and Abai Haye Asmalash Wolde Selassie were assassinated. How does this make you feel, and what is your opinion on the assassination and the killings and the arrest, them being arrested?
Okay, so here I would say that I would have mixed feelings on this issue, because these people are legends for us. I mean, every Tigray looks up to them with care and gratitude. We have nothing but respect for those people. And to hear that our icons are, like our so-called leaders and our fathers being apprehended or killed, and watching it on live state media, them being captured and having handcuffs on their hands, that really saddens you and makes me feel like, damn, I mean, why did this happen? And makes me kind of sad. But then again, our enemies purposely did that. Their intention is to break, again, their intention is to break the spirits and the stance of the Tigrayan people. So if we feel sadness, with a madness within us. But then again, we have to counter use that feeling into standing strong and continuing the fight. So the enemy is out to hunt us no matter what. So it makes me feel like, okay, those people paid the price not once but twice. For me, they gave their lives twice. And specifically coming to those individuals that you brought up, I would say, for instance, they showed Abu Suhat being handcuffed, and on state media, they wanted to disrespect him. For us, I would say Suhat is the Tigray Mandela, I would say for us, because he is 87 to 90 years old right now. So when he was young, when he was my age, he showed the world what he can do. He showed the world what Tigrayans can do. He showed the world what Tigrayan youth is capable of. So right now, he has finished his journey because the torch is not with him anymore. We carry it. Every Tigrayan young carries it with him. They showed us Siyum being dead. For us, it's very saddening not being able to, give him the respect and dignity he deserved in his last moments. But then again, that makes us strong. That is why we need to stay strong and keep Tigray safe and free from invaders, so that we can respect our fathers. And as Mallah said, Baitzai, the same thing. They talked a lot of things about Baitzai. They said he looted everything. They due to his position as a manager, as part of the management for the sugar factories being built around Ethiopia, they trashed his name every now and then, here and there. But then again, where he ended is where he started everything, in Tigray, because that's what he believes. Like this is not about money. This is not about power. This is about freedom. And this is about dignity, and dignity not just for 1%, but for the entire people of Tigray. And again, when we come to Asmallah, look, I mean, what more can you expect of this guy? He lost his vision, fighting for the people. He lost his arm, fighting for the people. And now he lost his life. So this guy did not just fight, or did not just fight once and show us, oh, this is how it is, that is how it is. But he proved that no matter what they do to us, we will keep standing strong. No matter what. Unless they wipe us all off from the face of the earth and get rid of us, until there is no Tigray left on earth, we will still keep fighting for our rights. Because the only reason that we're being bombed, the only reason that our women are being raped, the only reason our factories are being looted is because we wanted to choose our leaders. We wanted to be led by elected officials, not by superstitious monarchs that they dream of. So that's the message in principle that I understand. Their sacrifice will never be in vain.
And what do you think we can learn from their sacrifices?
Okay, so as a young Tigray, I would say that we learn what it means to have values, what it means to have principles to stand for and fight for, and what struggle actually means, And it taught me that once you start a fight, and once you start to resist suppression, you just have to make sure that you have the moral high standards. As long as you have that with you, sacrifice will come every now and then, but keep trying to stay strong, and trying to always side with the people. The people always win. These people overthrew a dictatorship back in the days, then established a more or less democratic form of government. Again, when situations tended to go back to the old ways, which is dictatorship again, they resisted. So that taught me what principle means. That taught me what courage means. I don't expect those people to kill like 1,000 invaders or like 2,000 invaders. That's not what I expect from them. They gave me the tool. They gave me the conscious mind that can fight for the freedom of people. So this is something big. This is something that we can always look for. In tomorrow's Tigray, I believe these people would be remembered as legends. Like I said, some of them are Mandelas for us. Some of them are our Che Guevaras. Like we don't have heroes. We don't need heroes to uphold from abroad. We don't have to look outside Tigray to look for heroes. We have our own heroes. Ancient and modern heroes. So I guess history was written by their blood.
And as we see, Tigrayans have been fighting over and over again, numerous times, numerous battles for the same cause, just for peace and a fair election, and being led by fair leaders. When do you think this will end? Because we're seeing this again happening. It's the same fight, the same battle. When do you think this will end, and when will Tigrayans get a break?
Uh, I mean, when will Tigrayans break? I would say never. I mean, we would never break. We would always be strong. The question, the matter is that how long is it gonna take? Right now, it's already clear. We all know deep down what we need to do. We all know how we can achieve what we dream of, because the betrayal that happened on our people is beyond words. A certain government that more or less would be considered to be ruling over a country that we are currently residing in, it actually went on and invited a foreign power to invest its full military power into a certain region. And that was not enough. But then again, to bring in non-African power, non-African war equipments like drones, and again, bombard your own people, what more can we expect? How can we say that we are part of that certain mindset that's considered as a country? Like, I mean, for me, it's right now at this point, it's Tigray and Tigray. I believe there are a lot of young Tagaru who agree with that too. I mean, I have not done a research. I don't have the right statistics for that. But I would say most Tagaru, young and older now, are marching to the same goal: Tigrayan freedom, Tigrayan independence. Uh, do I do I personally vouch for that? 100%. Uh, do I believe we should work on that? Yes, 100%. But then again, for the time being, we need to escape the atrocities that are coming on us right now. In order to do that, for now, we need to fight in the platform that we have. We need to make our voices heard, and the way to permanently end the suffering of the Tigrayan people, no matter how the geographical demarcations end up, would be, or I would say in general, for now, let's use the platform we have, and let's try to end the suffering, the hunger that our people are going through. I would suggest on calling the international community to intervene immediately and stop the bombing, open all humanitarian corridors. And then once the people have a certain break from every bombing, we can have a formal discussion and say like, okay, so do we need this to continue? I personally don't think this should continue. There should be a permanent solution for this. The permanent solution for this would be statehood. I'm not a political scientist, but that's what I think of. That's my personal opinion. So Tigrayans, I believe the fight has changed its face now. It's become more than fight for self-determination. It has become a fight for survival. It has become a fight for saying never again. The Germans say never again. And Tigrayans, I believe we as the people of Tigray should say never again, because we've seen a lot of wars. Our areas, our lands has seen and has been fed a lot of blood in our past histories, and it's time to stop it.
Do you have any messages for other Tigrayans and other international communities?
For other young Tagaru and Tagaru of all age in general, would be stay strong, keep uplifting your spirits, and then keep up the fight. And I would say, in principle, we need to start enlightening ourselves with education, business, any form of engagement that we can be part of. We need to make sure that we become competent enough to be chosen by any party that wants to have a positive influence anywhere, whether be it school, business platforms, management areas, international organizations. We need to show and represent Tigray, because currently Tigray does not have official foreign relations office. So I believe every Tigrayan individually is an ambassador for Tigray, and we need to be able to express and show ourselves and present ourselves as Tigray, not just Tagarus, as Tigray itself, because Tigray is far greater than any individual. So we need to be, if we're going to school, let's be the best at it. If we're doing business, let's be the best, and let's do everything legally and stay within the laws and show that Tigray is nothing but about respecting the law. And if we are engaged in management services, let's show the people that we can manage with Tigrayan principles and with Tigrayan dignity and respect everyone around us. If we are working in international organizations, let's represent Tigray, present ourselves, and show the world what Tigray is going through, and to never break, because more dire and devastating news would continue to come from back home. But let's not give up on that, because hope is the only thing that can keep us going, and we have hope. We have our Tigrayan Defense Forces, which are who are giving their one and only life every day, every now and then, without a single hesitation. And I really would like to thank them sincerely from the deepest places in my heart. I really respect them. And for the people of Tigray, we know that they are going through a lot. They're being starved. There's hunger. There's every possible dehumanization that you can possibly think of or ever come up with is being conducted in Tigray. And let's be a voice for our people. We cannot afford to stay quiet. We need to speak up. This is far more than personal now. This is about 10 million people. So I would say let's stay strong, keep up the fight, keep enlightening ourselves, and stay fit, both emotionally, whether it be education, business, finances, everything. Let's stay fit and ready and prepared.
And do you have any messages for the international community? What would you like to say to them?
The international community, I would like to call on, first and foremost, the United Nations, and then the European Union, African Union, the United States, any country that believes that it has a higher moral standard, no matter what, to look into Tigray. I do not call on them just to side with us, because that would never be fair. I want them to side with the right, and I want them to stand with the people who are fighting a just and justifiable fight. Look into Tigray, try to understand the politics in Ethiopia, try to understand what the Tigrayan people are going through, and try to see how and why this is happening. The only reason, again, I would like to pass on to the international community is that the only crime the Tigrayan people did is wanting to hold elections and choose their leaders. And the self-claimed prime minister and his group would like to enforce their legitimacy by force and starvation. That's what they're trying to do. Different inhuman tactics. They're trying to implement those. So please look into Tigray. There are women being raped every day, every single day. There are young children who cannot even get a bottle of clean water a day. There are mothers who are giving birth to their babies in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of nowhere, with no medical attention at all, because everything's looted. There's no medication. The very easiest medicine that can one say, oh, like, this is not hard to find, would be insulin. But there are people who are dying for shortage of insulin. There are people who are dying because there's deficiency of painkillers. Like this, some things that you can never think of. It is happening. So look into there. And I would call on the international community to impose sanctions, strong sanctions on the Ethiopian government, and to stop the Eritrean government from sending its troops into Tigray and intervening in the internal matters of other neighboring countries, and to force Abiy Ahmed to come into a roundtable and solve this in dialogue, because that's the only way out right now. And then again, for the international community should also call on the Eritrean government to stop its manipulation of the Tigrayan politics and the Ethiopian politics. So I would like to call on them to be concerned, because the world was late in Rwanda, and they cannot afford to be late now in Tigray, because genocide happened back then, because the world was late, and now genocide is happening in Ethiopia, specifically in Tigray, because they're late.
Thank you, Nahom. Would you like to share any last comments?
My comment is first to you, Aksamayan Media. Thanks for reaching out, and we all, most Tagaros that I know, appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are just starting up now, and then thanks for being part of the community and trying to be voice for the voiceless, and trying to show the world in your own capacities, that there are people who are actually going through something and trying to become part of the bigger mass. And I really appreciate that. And keep up the good work. Keep up reaching out to our people. Try to use all the resource and influence you have to help out our people in Tigray.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nahom, for sharing your thoughts with us. And thank you to the viewers for spending time with us on this segment. We hope to see you soon. And thank you so much.
Thank you.